You ever hear something you weren't supposed to? Something that changed the way you looked at someone forever? That's what happened to me. One moment, I was at the cabin with my husband and his son. The next, I heard a whisper that made me realize nothing between us would ever feel the same again. We had gone away for the weekend, my husband, Richard, his son, Daniel, and me. The cabin was supposed to be an escape. No phones, no neighbors, no noise except the sound of wind moving through the pines and the crackle of the fire at night. It was supposed to be peaceful. But I've learned peace has a way of peeling things back, stripping away the distractions that usually keep us blind. And sometimes, when the silence settles in, you notice things you were never supposed to notice. It was late evening. I was standing in the kitchen, the smell of wood smoke and pine clinging to the air. Dinner was done, dishes piled in the sink. My husband had gone upstairs early, worn out from the long drive. I was alone, or so I thought. Then I heard it. My name. Not spoken out loud, not called in a way meant for me. It was whispered. Soft, secretive, like a word carried on a breath. And it was Daniel's voice. I froze, hand still in the dishwater, heart hammering. He wasn't in the room, but I could hear him. His voice drifted from the other side of the wall, hushed like he didn't want anyone to know. She's not like I thought she'd be, he said. Then silence. A pause that seemed to stretch too long. It's getting harder to pretend. My stomach flipped. Was he talking about me? Pretending what? I told myself I shouldn't be listening, but my body wouldn't move. I leaned closer to the door, careful not to breathe too loud. A muffled voice answered him, someone else in the room, but I couldn't make out the words. And then Daniel sighed, low and heavy, like something had been sitting on his chest for too long. She doesn't see it yet, he whispered. But I think she's starting to feel it. My skin prickled. I stepped back fast, the floorboard under me groaning with a betraying creak. I didn't wait to hear more. I just knew I had to move before they realized I was there. Back in the kitchen, I tried to act normal, washing dishes like nothing had happened. But my heart wouldn't slow down. Later, when we all sat in the living room by the fire, Richard went to bed early again, leaving just me and Daniel in the soft glow of the flames. It was quiet, too quiet, except for the sound of burning logs. That's when I felt it, his eyes on me. Not the way a stepson should look. There was an awareness there, a question, something unspoken. I avoided his gaze, staring at the fire like it had the answers. But then he broke the silence. You looked like you wanted to say something earlier, he said softly. I blinked, startled. When? I asked, though I already knew what he meant. When I passed you in the hallway, he said with a shrug, like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. I swallowed. I thought I heard something, I said carefully. Nothing important. Daniel held my eyes, his expression unreadable. Not everything we whisper is a secret, he said. Sometimes we're just trying to figure out if we're the only ones feeling something. The words hung there between us, heavier than the firelight. I wanted to tell him I didn't understand. But deep down, I did. And that scared me. The next morning, the air in the cabin felt different. Daniel was quiet, distant, like something had shifted overnight. My husband was still upstairs asleep, his steady snoring echoing faintly through the walls. I sat at the table, my hands wrapped around a coffee mug, steam curling into the cool morning air. That's when Daniel leaned closer. His voice was barely a whisper. Do you trust me? The question made me stiffen. What kind of question is that? A serious one, he said, his eyes steady on mine. I hesitated, then nodded slowly. I think so. Then come with me, he said. Just for a minute. Every instinct told me to refuse. But instead, I stood. We stepped out onto the porch, the fog wrapping the woods in a soft grey blanket. He led me down the narrow path behind the woodshed, just far enough so the cabin disappeared behind the trees. My heart was racing. I didn't know what he wanted, but I followed anyway. He stopped near a fallen log and turned to face me. His jaw was tight, his eyes searching mine. You weren't supposed to hear what I said yesterday, he said quietly. But since you did, you should know I meant it. I swallowed hard. What did you mean? That I don't know how to act around you anymore, he admitted, his voice rough. Because every time you're near, I forget where the lines are supposed to be. The world felt too still, too quiet. My chest tightened. That's not something you should say. I know, he said. But it's the truth. I turned my face away, not trusting myself to meet his gaze. The woods seemed to be holding their breath. Then he added, I didn't plan this. It just happened. I notice things about you. The way you smile when you think no one's watching. The way you laugh softer around me than you do around him. I see it, even if you pretend you don't. My heart thudded painfully. I shook my head. We can't do this. I'm not asking you to, Daniel said firmly. I just needed you to know. For a long moment, we stood in silence. The trees swayed faintly above us, and somewhere in the distance, a bird called once and fell silent again. Then, snap. A sharp crack, like someone stepping on a branch. I froze, breath caught. Daniel's eyes darted toward the sound. Did you hear that? I whispered. He nodded slowly. We weren't alone. My blood ran cold. Whoever it was, they'd seen us together, away from the cabin, in a place we had no reason to be. And suddenly I knew. Whatever unspoken thing was happening between Daniel and me, it couldn't be seen. Not here. Not like this. Because some whispers aren't just secrets. They're the kind of truths that can change everything if the wrong person hears them.